Along with Greece, Spain, and Portugal, Ireland is one of the Eurozone economies that are facing mounting deficits, possible credit rating downgrades as well. But here's the thing, who actually makes the call on which countries are worth lending to and which are not? Here's a little bit of background for you on credit rating agencies. These companies research, analyze, and rate the risk for investments in fixed income securities, things like bonds, insurance policies, and oh yeah, those derivatives as well. Among them, Standard & Poor's has offices in 23 countries and a history going back 150 years. In 2008, the company published more than 1 million credit ratings on $32 trillion in outstanding debt. The company also runs the S&P 500 Index of American Stocks. Moodys tracks credit ratings and debt services in more than 100 countries. It's got 3,000 employees working for corporate, government, and private investors all around the world. Fitch is another global rating agency, much smaller than the other two, though. It's got 50 offices worldwide, and it covers capital markets in more than 150 countries. Okay, so there's the numbers. But the question that's being raised right now is whether these agencies have too much power over the fate of entire economies and how they are using their influence in a time like this. So for more on that, let's bring in CNN.com business editor Kevin Voigt from Hong Kong. Got some insight on this. Kevin, you've written a piece on this for .com, and I'm so glad you did, because, I mean, how often do we really think in depth about these credit agencies? And, you know, how is it that they've ended up with so much power and so much influence in the system?
Well, as you mentioned, some of these stretch back a long way. Standard & Poor's has been around for 150 years. But what really sort of entrenched them in the system was some regulations passed in the U.S. in 1975, which basically required banks and issuers of debts and so forth to use these three agencies. And there was sort of a global knock-on effect. Regulations around the world now require and depend on, perhaps too much, some feel, on the opinions of the credit rating agencies.
Well, some people also don't like the fact that the credit agencies are hired and paid by the very companies that they're supposed to rate. So there's sort of, you know, some people feel there's an inherent conflict of interest here. And also, I mean, how is it that these agencies have got things wrong so often lately, giving good ratings to things that have gone terribly bad?
Well, that's a big question. I mean, regarding sort of the dependency on the ratings and sort of the value given to them, it really, when you look at, say, mortgage-backed securities, their power was in that they gave mortgage-backed securities, these products based on risky investments, based on derivatives, AAA ratings, which is safe as investing in U.S. bonds, according to them. Obviously, there's been a big backlash on that now, and the credit rating agencies are the first to say that they messed up, and they claim that they have since gone on and now are much more transparent in their dealings. But it's a big question, and there is a conflict of interest. One author I spoke with on this issue said it's sort of like paying the school principal to get your grades. A lot of people have complaints about that, and people are curious, you know, if there needs to be a change in structure regarding how payments are made. On the other hand, critics say, you know, anytime money changes hands, there's a potential for a conflict of interest. If, say, investors paid for it, then you may have a large institutional investor come around and say, hey, you know, we have $100 million to spend. How about giving us some AAA ratings on these particular bonds we want to buy? So it is an issue.
So, I mean, you know, what's your best bet in the experts you've talked to? I mean, do they think that there will be more changes, significant changes to the way these agencies do business or not?
That's a good question. The European Union has already acted on this, and sort of specifically when it comes to, say, the derivatives-based investments, the agencies working in the EU now must refuse to take business if they don't properly understand what the investments are. So some people say that's a step in the right direction. But all eyes right now are on the U.S. to see what's going to happen with the Wall Street reforms that are before Congress, before the subcommittees right now, and to see what sort of action is taken. One interesting wrinkle on that is credit rating agencies in the U.S. can't be sued, or at least it's very difficult to successfully sue them. They're protected under free speech. So it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out in the coming months, Colleen.
Of course, they can't be sued. Kevin Voigt, thank you so much. Appreciate it, Kevin. And of course, you can read all about the credit rating agencies in Kevin's article, as I mentioned it. It's really great stuff. If